Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I'm on week 2 for the A to Z Horror Challenge. This was a challenge created by John at Books of Blood, and he created a number of alphabetical prompts for readers to choose novels or short stories based on horror themes. I will link to his original video below. And I am on F is for folk horror. And I read They by Nikolai Gogol. Gogol was a 19th century Ukrainian author writing in Russian. And V is one of his most famous short stories. And V is V-I-Y. You can pronounce it V or Ve. Not 100% sure. And I will give his footnote to the title of the story. Ve is a colossal creation of folk imagination. This name is applied by the people in Little Russia to the chief of the gnomes, whose eyelids reach to the ground. The whole story is a popular legend. I did not wish to change it in any way and tell it almost as simply as I heard it. So what this story is about is 3 students at a monastery in Kiev break for summer vacation. They have no money, and they must find their own food and lodging as they journey home. And they come across an old farmstead. There's an old woman who begrudgingly agrees to let them stay the night. In the middle of the night, the old woman awakens Koma, and he is the main student. He is the philosophy student. And then she rides him like a horse until he sees the edge of the black forest and realizes that she is a witch. He casts off the witch and then rides her back. And when he gets back to the farmstead, he beats her with a log. And the witch turns into a beautiful young woman. Then you learn that the Cossacks' chief daughter is found nearly beaten to death. Her dying wish is for Koma, the philosophy student, to pray over her deathbed for 3 consecutive nights. And things do get weird, and you will meet the king of the gnomes. Now, is this an actual Ukrainian folk legend? I have no idea. It is a great example of what folklore is about, though, and how people turn folklore into short stories. And that is enough reason to read this. I originally read the short story when I was in college, taking a class on Russian literature, and I absolutely loved it that time. I still appreciated it as an adult, but I think some of the power waned over time. G is for Gothic. I had originally intended to read the short story Don't Look Now by Daphne du Maurier, but I have decided to switch that out for a different, very famous Gothic horror story. Can you identify the story from this passage that describes a house? Shaking off from my spirit what must have been a dream, I scanned more narrowly the real aspect of the building. Its principal feature seemed to be that of excessive antiquity. The discoloration of ages had been great. Minute fungi overspread the whole exterior, hanging in a fine tangled webwork from the eaves. Yet all this was apart from any extraordinary dilapidation. No portion of the masonry had fallen, and there appeared to be a wild inconsistency between its still perfect adaptation of parts and the crumbling condition of the individual stones. In this, there was much that reminded me of the spacious totality of old woodwork, which has rotted for long years in some neglected vault, with no disturbance from the breath of external air. Beyond this indication of excessive decay, however, the fabric gave little token of instability. Perhaps the eye of a scrutinizing observer might have discovered a barely perceptible fissure, which, extending from the roof of the building in front, made its way down the wall in a zigzag direction until it had become lost and in the sullen waters of the tarn. Such a brilliant piece of writing and description. Have you guessed the story? It comes from Edgar Allan Poe. Poetry and tales. And it is perhaps his best short story, The Fall of the House of Usher. The story of a narrator who visits a childhood friend in distress, and he comes to this dilapidated house, to his friend Usher, who is suffering from a malady. He is so hypersensitive to sound, and his sister, Madeleine, who dies, and she is buried alive. Poe's apparently greatest fear in life was being buried alive. And I just love this short story. I love the way Poe writes. I have not read this story in, I don't know, 25 years. And that's a loss. I should be revisiting Poe much more often because he is really one of the greatest horror writers that ever lived. H is for haunting. So for a haunting or ghost story, I chose the very famous English author, M.R. James, and he is known for writing some of the most masterful ghost stories in the English language. And I downloaded some of his short stories to my Kindle, and I read number 13. This is a story of a man going to Denmark to do some research on church history, and he has to find a room to stay in, and he gathers into an inn, and he is shown to room number 14. Next to 14 is room 12, because back in the days that people just did not like rooms number 13 or floors number 13 based on old superstition. So one night he comes back to his room, and he's supposed to have 3 windows in his room, and his portmanteau is pushed up against the wall, which would be adjacent to room number 12. And he noticed that his portmanteau is missing, and he's going to blame the staff in the morning for moving it. But when he wakes up, he tells the maid, and she laughs at him because his portmanteau is back against the wall. And when he comes back to a later night, he notices that there's a room 13 between 12 and 14. Talks to the innkeeper. Innkeeper says, no room 13. Another night passes. He's talking to the innkeeper in his room, and they hear this dreadful, monstrous singing coming from next door, the room adjacent or would be room 12. And they go, and the man in 12 thought it was them doing the horrible singing. And they go out to the hallway, and they see the door marked 13. And what happens when they open that door? Well, you'll have to read the story to find out. It is a good, little amusing ghost story. It's not going to make a huge, lasting impression, but still an excellent ghost story.